Alexander pushes the plank to one side. A box has been partially buried under sand. There's nothing of interest in that. Alexander takes the coin and leaves the ruined box where it is. Alexander picks up his royal insignia ring from the beach. The ocean appears calm, but there's a dimpling pattern to the surface which indicates an undertow. Broken pieces of Alexander's ship litter the beach. The ocean appears A hollow in the trunk of the old tree forms a perfect nesting place for wildlife. Alexander examines the tree's hollow, but finds nothing of interest. Alexander can see no reason to clamber about on the old tree. He would only scar its bark. Alexander politely addresses the odd-looking guards at the castle doors, hoping to learn more about his predicament.
Good day to you, guards. I was cast...
Hey, what is that you say? A castaway? A likely story. We haven't had any foreigners in this part since Alhazred arrived.
Don't be so rude, Gruff. He's not asking for any secrets. You're standing on the Isle of the Crown, lad, and this is the Castle of the Crown. The royal family resides here. Rather, what's left of the royal family.
The Isle of the Crown? But tell me, am I anywhere near the land of the Green Isles?
This is the land of the Green Isles. The Isle of the Crown is the main island, foolish boy.
Then Princess Cassima must live in this very castle.
Aye, the princess is indeed our treasure jewel to guard, and we consider it an honor.
Excuse me, guardsman. Guard dogs. I've been traveling for months to see Princess Cassima. I would like an audience, please.
I'm sorry, but the princess is not receiving visitors, particularly not strangers.
I really must see the princess. Could I speak with someone in charge?
Who are you that I should bother Captain Saladin, huh?
My name is Alexander. I am a prince of Daventry and a friend of the princess.
A prince, is it? I see. Yeah, and I am lord of this dusty path. Step aside. You'll not be getting into this castle without some proof of your claims.
Alexander decides to try his royal insignia ring on the guards. With all of his papers lost in the shipwreck, it is the only possible proof of his identity that he can think of.
Perhaps this ring will convince you of my identity. It is the royal insignia ring of Daventry.
Ha! I'm sure. Just let me take a look at that ring.
Well, I'm sorry, Your Highness. It's just that princess is so uncommon in these parts. Let me get Captain Saladin.
The guard returns a moment later with a majestic-looking creature. Captain Saladin speaks with a voice that is gentle, but reflects a will of iron.
Prince Alexander of Daventry, I presume. I'm afraid I'm unfamiliar with your country, but I'm sure Wazir Al-Hazred will want to meet you, if indeed you are a friend of the princess. Please follow me. Lord Al-Hazred, a visitor to see you. Prince Alexander of Daventry.
What is it that you seek, Prince Alexander?
Pardon the intrusion, my lord, but I came to see Princess Cassima. Some months ago, my father, King Graham, saved my family and I from imprisonment under an evil wizard named Mordak.
The same wizard that kidnapped the princess?
Exactly. When my father rescued us, he also liberated Cassima and sent her home.
Then your father has my gratitude, and that of the entire kingdom. But I'm afraid I still fail to see the purpose of your visit.
Well, I came to make sure that Cassima arrived safely and to pay my respects. Before we parted, she gave me an invitation to visit.
I have no doubt she did exactly that at the time, Prince Alexander. However, things have greatly changed for Cassima since her ordeal in Mordak's castle. Cassima's parents both became ill and died while she was gone. Cassima is sequestered in mourning for them as befits a princess. She is not receiving visitors of any kind. Even if she were, I do not think your visit would be appropriate. You see, it is time for Cassima to take her responsibilities seriously. With her parents gone, she no longer has the luxury to be a carefree maiden. As was her parents' wish, Cassima and I are to be wed. We shall rule the kingdom together. I assure you, our marriage is all Cassima wants now. As a prince and a gentleman, it would be best that you leave before there is any further embarrassment.
I see. I suppose that I was mistaken. I thought for certain that Cassima... Well, I apologize.
A young man sees what he wishes to see. I'm sorry you've wasted your time traveling to the land of the Green Isles. May your journey home be swift.
Perhaps I will take the opportunity to look around your fair land while I'm here.
I would advise against that. The kingdom is rather, shall we say, inhospitable these days. But it is your neck. You may risk it if you please. Captain Saladin will escort you from the castle. Good day.
You have had your hearing with Vizier Alhazred. I trust you will respect his wishes and not return. I have been instructed not to let you into the castle again. Good day, my lord.
Captain Saladin whispers something to the guard dogs at the castle gate, and they nod with understanding. Alexander has a feeling they won't be letting him into the castle again. The two...
Please, if you'll only be reasonable. I really must see the princess.
Begone! You're not welcome at the castle, Prince Alexander of Daventry. We have our orders, and they are quite clear.
It won't do any good to try to convince... The guards of the castle gate look like efficient fighters, and there are doubtless more of them inside. Alexander decides not to try to force his way in. Vines have begun to climb the castle's stucco walls. The vines are too flimsy to support Alexander. The side of the castle is one big blank wall. The narrow path ends abruptly at a pile of boulders.
Good day, peddler.
Good day, sir. If you would like to get one of my fine new lamps, I'll need an old lamp in trade.
Isn't it a rather bad business? Taking old lamps and giving new lamps in exchange?
Well, there's always a chance that I'll find a genie. If I had a genie, well, I'd be richer than a king. Besides, there's always a roaring business in antique luminaries.
The peddler's pole provides convenient transportation of the lamp seller's wares. There are 6 new lamps on the pole. A large round pot is one of the pottery pieces on display outside the shops. Alexander examines the large pot. It's currently empty, but a few scraps in the bottom indicate that it is used as a dump site on occasion. Alexander is carrying a copper coin of Daventry. King Graham graces the front of the coin.
Good day.
Alexander takes a mint.
Good day, merchant. What can you tell me about the land of the Green Isles?
I can tell you she is in a dark time. Without the ferry, communication between the islands has ground to a halt, and so nearly has my business. Why the long ages of peace have ended, and why the crown has not done something about it is beyond me. But then, I am a shopkeeper, not a politician, and can only hope for better days.
How bide you, good merchant?
Quite well, though a purchase would not hurt me any.
The pawn shop's counter is made of a sturdy teak. Alexander takes a closer look at the items on the counter.
Have you an interest in tinder boxes? This one is only slightly battered. It holds a good supply of flint, a sturdy striking pad, and even a candle in case you find yourself with naught else to hold the flame. Ah, yes, the painter's brush. It was well used by one of the island's best painters. There's a lot of creativity in that brush, and its bristles are still in good condition. The flute is only made of plain wood, but its notes are fine and true. I see you have noticed my mechanical nightingale. She is made of plain tin, but she sings the sweetest song you can imagine, barely distinguishable from the real thing.
I'm interested in that flute on the counter.
What do you desire to give me in trade? The items on the front counter are all of equally slight value, worth only a copper or two. They are handy items nonetheless.
Hello, I will be right up. Now, what can I do for you?
There's a small table near the door that bears a sign. The sign has undergone a number of changes. It once read 10 pence, but that was crossed out and replaced with 5 pence, then 1 pence, then free. The sign currently reads, "Take one, please." Only one book remains on the table. It looks like the bookshop owner really wants to get rid of that book. Alexander picks up the book from the small table.
Oh, yes, please, take that book. You have my most humble thanks for doing so, good sir.
Really? Thanks.
Alexander is carrying a book from the bargain table in the bookshop. Alexander opens the bargain book and reads a paragraph at random.
2 dulcimers raised to the degree of 40 half-dulcimers, divided into equal parts by the third of a cackle of grouse geese, put over the result of 10 fine mackles, albeit small fine mackles, stretched over the total of 53 1/8 bottles of wild beast lard.
Phew, what an incredibly boring book. No wonder the bookshop owner wanted to get rid of it so badly. A collection of children's books fill those shelves. Alexander is a little old for those children's books. Alexander rests his feet for a moment. Alexander picks up and leafs idly through a book called The Changing Role of Court Entertainers Through the Ages. Well, that was refreshing. Alexander is not interested in those self-help books. Alexander feels his pockets carefully to make sure. Thinking of Cosima, Alexander decides to leaf through one of the volumes of love poetry. He reads, "Thy hair, thy lips, thy beauteous face, and all thy studied female grace have won for thee anon a place within this broken breast." Not bad. And another. "Upon the shore the lilies bend, untouched by worldly care, where shadow they her earthly bed, oh, that she were not there." Yikes. And another. "What was it when I looked at you? What power has chained me through and through, and binds my heart with links so tight I cannot live without the sight of you? What nameless thing has captured me, and made me powerless to flee? What thing is it without a name, that brings my mind e'er back the same to thee? The name of love cannot apply. Its commonness does not decry the haunted, hunted, painful cry that my heart makes for you, that ere my soul eternal makes for you.
A little close to home, that one.
Alexander returns the love poem book to the shelf. Alexander picks up the fallen page. It's the love poem he particularly liked. It must have fallen out of the poetry book.
I see that old volume has lost another page. You may keep it if you like, sir. I have glued the stubborn thing back in place 2 times already.
I do rather like it. Thank you, merchant.
Alexander is not interested in those self...
Good day, sir.
The mysterious old man just ignores Alexander. For some inexplicable reason, Alexander feels compelled to avoid this hooded old man. Right now, Alexander is too involved with the journey he's on to take time to read about the journeys of others. Alexander isn't interested in the cookbooks on that shelf. He's had an aversion to cooking ever since he experimented with a certain cookie recipe involving cat hair and fish oil. A well-padded leather chair, a small table, and a fuzzy rug have been arranged into a cheery reading area near the fire. An antique leather-bound book is displayed on a little stand on the counter. On the elaborate cover is the title, Ye Useful Book of Magic Spells.
How much for that book on the counter, merchant?
It is a fine book, is it not? I obtained it from the estate of the one and only magician this kingdom has ever had. Poofed himself into an aardvark in the end, or so I heard. I never found the spells all that useful myself, but then I lead a boring life. I tell you what, if you can find another rare book, something a bit more marketable, I might be willing to exchange the spell book for it.
Good day, sir. I'm a stranger in this land. What can you tell me about the land of the Green Isles?
That is quite a question, young man. Who are you, and what would you have me tell you?
My name is Alexander. I know I am on the Isle of the Crown, but I'd like to know whatever you can tell me about this island, and if there are other islands nearby.
You are indeed a stranger. Anxious is the man who knows not the customs of the land beneath his feet. This island is called the Isle of the Crown, because the royal family's castle is here. Besides the castle, we also have this village, and the docks over to the west. There are at least 3 other islands. The Isle of the Sacred Mountain, the Isle of the Beast, and the Isle of Wonder.
At least 3? Does no one know for certain?
This is no ordinary land, Alexander. The land of the Green Isles has always been a place of vague boundaries, as if islands come and go. Legend speaks of a 4th island, an isle shrouded in mists. I myself have never seen it. Then, too, the land of the Green Isles is said to exist on the boundaries of this world and the next. Even darker places are reputed to be closer here than anywhere else in the world.
That's quite a claim.
Claim, yes, but probably just local superstition. We who live here on the Isle of the Crown, at least, sleep well enough at night.
Those first 3 islands you mentioned, how might I learn more about them?
Ideally, a young man seeking such knowledge would travel to their shores and learn about them firsthand. Meeting the leaders of each place would be helpful, naturally. Unfortunately, the ferry no longer runs between the islands. There has been much political unrest, and it has been too dangerous to travel for years. Perhaps the ferryman can tell you more. He has little enough to do these days. And if you haven't been there already, you might seek an audience at the castle.
Thank you kindly, merchant, for all your good advice.
Ah, but advice is free, Alexander. Making use of it costs much more.
I seem to recall if there was a map somewhere around here. Oh, he's the genie. Gold ass.
The girl is too far away to hold a conversation with Alexander.
You lazy... I've told you 1,000,000 times. Those flowers are too sweet for the likes of you. You've still got to do the breakfast dishes, make lunch, and clean the stables yet this morning. And get your veil back on. No one wants to look at your face.
Yes, stepmother.
Alexander has not been invited to pick the family's roses. Alexander doesn't want to intrude on private property unless he's been invited.
That's who?
Hey, stranger, come join me. The water is wonderful, and I can show you the way to the next island.
Not a sucker, but sure. Why not?
Considering the poor condition of the shore, it looks like the easiest way to get into the water is just to jump off the pier. The powerful currents grab Alexander. Struggle as he might, he feels himself being pulled out to sea.
I'm shocked. Shocked.
Not a very good swimmer, are you?
Help me!
Sorry, I think not.
As his head submerges for the third time, Alexander finds himself pondering the wisdom of going out on a limb for a stranger.
Tickets up. Next.
Alexander couldn't handle those currents. That boy must be an unbelievably strong swimmer. That's strange. The young boy in the water just disappeared. Oh well, perhaps he just dove under the water.
Sure. Puff of smoke. Seems legit.
Yeah, what do you want?
Excuse me. My name is Alexander. The owner of the bookshop in the village told me you might be able to help me. I hear you used to run this ferry for the islands. I'd like to talk to you if you have a moment.
You say old Allie sent you? I can't see why. The ferry's not running, you know.
I understand. I'd just like to talk to you about the islands if you don't mind.
Well, I guess it'd be all right if Allie sent you. Well, don't just stand there. Come on inside. What is it you wanted to talk about, young man?
I'm a visitor to these islands. I'd like to learn what I can about the area.
So you said outside. What is it you want to know?
Well, for one thing, why has the island's only ferry been dry docked?
Huh. It just ain't safe to sail these days. What with the islands feuding and all. Wazir Al-Hazred ordered the ferry closed till things settled down. Me, I don't think she'll ever see water again.
But why are the islands feuding?
You got me. Something about stolen property or some such thing. 'Tis a real shame. Things used to be so friendly.
Then this unrest is recent.
A few years is all, but it's been long enough.
Perhaps if the ferry were repaired.
This old thing? This ferry's been out of water so long she's no longer even seaworthy. Her boards have dry rot. She'd fall apart at the first taste of seawater.
But there must be some way to get off this island.
There's only one other way to travel that I know of. A magic map. The owner of the pawn shop can tell you more about that than I can, Alexander.
A table is positioned in front of two plain wooden chairs. The table consists of a board placed over a small barrel. There's a rabbit's foot on the table. There's nothing of interest on that particular part of the table.
I see you have a rabbit's foot. Has it brought you much luck?
As you can see, my luck's been out for some time now, despite that old charm. Why don't you take it with you? Perhaps giving the darn thing away will bring me good fortune at last.
Perhaps it will at that. Thank you.
Why not have my stuff?
Tell me more about the ferry.
I remember when I used to ferry Queen Ilaria and Princess Cosima themselves. There was no thought of danger back then. They used to go visiting to care for the needy and to keep up the friendly relations between the islands. I remember their last trip. Things had started getting nasty by then, and when they came back aboard, I gathered that the Queen and the Princess had been received a bit coldly. Princess Cosima was such a pretty thing, and she was terribly upset. But who could be spreading these lies, she asked the Queen, but the Queen had no answer.
What do you do now that the ferry no longer operates?
Me? I'm out of a job. The job my ancestors have held for generations. I'm the only one trained to avoid the reef and the rocks. But that knowledge does me no good now.
Is there no other boat on the island? One that might be more seaworthy?
Boats don't last long on these shoals, as you may have found out if you got here by ship. You can be quite sure that this old ferry is, or was, the only craft on the island.
Tell me more about Princess Cosima.
Ah, such a beautiful child, and so pure of heart. Why, a contrary thought has never crossed her mind. Her mother was the same. The king and queen, they served the islands, not the other way around. Always thinking about the people. Ah, they are sorely missed.
What else can you tell me about the land?
Let's see. The Isle of Wonder's a lovely spot. A bit crazy, mind you. Gotta have a good sense of humor to enjoy a tour there.
What else can you tell me about the land?
The Isle of the Beast is pretty, but unfortunately, you can't get very far onto the island.
What else can you tell me about the land?
The inhabitants of the Isle of the Sacred Mountain are the most gorgeous creatures you'll ever see. If you ever get to see them, that is.
What else can you tell me about the land?
The Castle of the Crown sure is a beauty. She's the finest palace ever built, I'll warrant.
What else can you tell me about the land?
Some say that the land of the Green Isles is near the edge of the world, and that the deadly currents are a result of a magnetism that sucks life from this world to the next. Of course, that's just silly talk.
What else can you tell me about the land?
Let's see. The Isle of Wonder's a lovely spot. A bit crazy, mind you. Gotta have a good sense of humor to enjoy a tour there.
What else can you tell me about the land?
The Isle of the Beast is pretty, but
Several oil lamps are strategically placed around the boat's cabin to eliminate the island's dark nights. Alexander is sitting inside the ferry's cabin. The place displays the neatness of a seaman and the sparseness of a bachelor. There are few frills and comforts in the rough wooden environment, but the sunlight shines cheerily on the oaken beams, and the portholes admit a pleasant breeze.
Well, I think I'll be going now. Thanks for allowing me into your home.
Posh, not at all. It breaks the boredom, if you know what I mean.
What else would you do?
A small hatch leads down into the dark cargo area. The cargo bay is unlikely to hold anything of interest or have a very pleasant smell after months of dry docking. Alexander decides not to descend into the dark hole.
Maybe he doesn't.
Alexander would have no use for that rotting rope.
Very well, narrator. You win this game. Next time.
Good day.
Would you like a mint?
Alexander decides to be friendly and offer the old man a mint.
Would you care for a mint, sir?
No, thank you. I'll get my own mint from the dish when I want one.
Alexander decides to be friendly and offer the old man a mint.
Would you care for a mint, sir?
No, thank you.
Good day, sir.
The old man just glares at Alexander and does not reply.
Would you be interested in...
No, leave me alone.
Maybe I'll annoy him away.
Would you be interested in...
No, leave me alone.
If Alexander wants to exchange one of his possessions, Alexander Reed, what was it when I looked at you? What power has chained me through and through, and binds my heart with links so tight I cannot live without the sight of you? What nameless the name of...
Excuse me, merchant, but the ferryman mentioned that you might have a magic map of the land of the Green Isles.
Why, as a matter of fact, I do. I keep it under the counter. It's been gathering dust so long that I nearly forgot about it. It was quite a few years ago, you see. The estate of a wealthy wizard fell into my hands when he died. It was useless magical junk mostly, which reminds me, I've still got some things of his in the back that I need to dump out. Anyway, the magic map was the one true treasure in the lot. The wizard was quite old and feeble and had enchanted the map to aid in traveling. It is said that one need only desire to be on an island depicted on the map to find oneself there. It is a very valuable map, as you can imagine. Unfortunately, no one is interested in traveling these days. It is far too dangerous with the current state of the kingdom.
What would you take for the map?
I would normally want something magic in return, but since I am hardly overrun with prospective buyers, I would be willing to take anything of equal value in exchange.
Well, okay. What's equal value there, buddy?
I have this copper coin. Will it serve in exchange for the map?
An interesting enough piece, but it is not nearly valuable enough to trade for this map. In fact, I would say it is about the worth of our own copper. The only items in the store that I could let go for the price of a single copper are the 4 simple items I normally display on the front counter.
Well, if I can't have the map, then I suppose one of the counter items will do.
As you wish.
Alexander looks closely at the items on the counter near the map to make his selection.
How about that map?
Oh no, a single coin would never do in exchange for the magic map. Please, choose from one of my other 4 counter items, sir.
I'm really not interested in anything on the counter at this time.
As you wish. Here is your coin back.
Watch my signet ring.
If Alexander wants to exchange one of his possessions for an item in the pawn shop, he'll have to arrange it with the pawn shop. There's no reason to...
Would you be willing to take my family ring in exchange for the magic map?
Daventry, are you a king then?
No, that's my father, King Graham. I'm just Alexander.
Well, Prince Alex, she is a beautiful ring. Are you sure you can part with such a unique family heirloom?
The ring does mean a lot to me. I didn't always have a family, you know. Still, it is only gold. There are more important things at stake now.
Then you now own a magic map, Prince Alex. I will keep your ring out of sight for a few days. If you find anything else of great value in your travels, you can come back for your ring. I would hate to see it melted down for gold. Ah, and a warning about the map. It will only operate when you are out in the open and within sight of the sea. The limitation has something to do with the teleport spell ingredients. You might try the beach.
Thank you. You are very kind, and I'll remember about the map.
Suddenly, the old man in the concealing cloak sneaks past Alexander, and with a sneaky dart of his hand, steals a mint from the candy jar. The old man stuffs the mint into his mouth and wobbles unsteadily out of the pawn shop.
Master! I followed Prince Alexander as you wished from the pawn shop owner. He just abstained, just reprieved. He just got a magic map.
You fool! You've been eating those mints again. I ordered you to stop that!
Yes, Master. Now, what is this about a magic map? With the map, Prince Alexander could travel anywhere as quickly as I can.
I thought I took care of the only means of travel. By my scimitar, I can't have him stirring things up now. Get a hold of yourself and listen carefully, Shamir. Go to the other islands and tell them...
Tell them what? I must know. We'll find out where we go now.
Alexander pulls out his magic map.
I love the crown. I love peace. I love the secret map. Now I love...
Alexander feels a strange pulling sensation. One of the oysters is sitting up in bed and doesn't look very happy. He seems to be the only one who can't sleep. In the oyster's mouth, Alexander can see a glint of white.
Why aren't you asleep like the other oysters?
Oh, I'm so weary, but I can't sleep. I have a terrible ache in my mouth.
What's wrong with your mouth?
No offense, but it hurts too much to talk.
What's wrong with your mouth?
No offense, but it hurts.
Why don't you let me see if I can help?
No way! No one's looking in my mouth. I hate dentists.
Why don't you let...
No!
Alexander wades into the sea to get the strange object in the water. The ocean currents tug at Alexander's legs. That object is just a bit out of reach. Alexander hears someone coming.
"5 fierce guards of the isle we be. Watch for a foreign man," said he, "with ears and nose, tongue, hands, and eyes. Its nature cannot be disguised. If mad it be, then mad it dies. Old Tantro, smell your smell. Do that which you do so well."
Alexander holds the item out for the gnome with the stupendous nose.
"My nose cannot be tricked that way. The smell of man still rules the day. A man, so say our nose, into the waiting sea he goes."
The gnomes toss Alexander too far out into the sea for him to get his footing. The currents drag him under.
Tickets out. Next.
Guess those gnomes couldn't reach a consensus.
I mean, it seems like they did. Okay.
Alexander pulls out his magic map. Alexander feels a strange pulling sensation. Alexander takes the feather. Alexander picks the flower and is startled by its hideously strong skunk-like odor. For a moment he can smell nothing else. There appears to be something etched into the face of the cliff. Alexander decides to get closer. Huge blocks of stone erupt from the granite cliffs. Alexander stares with wonder. The steps cannot be moved any further. Alexander examines the strange etchings in the face of the cliff. Nothing happens. Alexander remembers what the... Alexander is a little busy. Oh no, Alexander loses his balance.
Whoa! 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 Ow! Hey!
Hey, he's the one that did it.
Alexander pulls out his magic map. Alexander feels a strange pulling sensation. Alexander is standing at the edge of the sea on a heavily forested island. As far as the eyes can see, tall trees spread out their branches as though straining to link arms, their tops forming a canopy above. A path leads north through the forest. Alexander would look pretty silly diving for that rabbit. There's no way he could catch it with his hands. Alexander, not being an expert on poisonous mushrooms, decides not to take a chance on tasting the local variety. Alexander pulls out his magic map. Alexander feels a strange pulling sensation.
Let me see. So I got smell, taste, guessing touch for one of those two. Sound will be the bird. Not sure what I do about sight.
Alexander sorts through the odds and ends that the pawn shop owner dumped into the pot. Magic exploding gum wrappers, a shattered crystal ball, a cracked wand, a fake thumb. Near the bottom, Alexander finds a little glass bottle labeled ink. It appears to be empty, but Alexander decides to take it anyway. You never know when a small bottle will come in handy. Alexander's carrying a little ink bottle. It appears to be empty. The feather feels very stiff and coarse. The long fur of the rabbit's foot is soft to the touch. The feather feels very... There's no reason to use that on the ink bottle.
Good day, Prince Alexander.
The counter feels... Alexander takes a close...
I'm interested in that mechanical nightingale on the counter.
What do you desire to give me in trade? The items on the front...
I believe I will trade...
Certainly. You may choose something from the front counter.
that mechanical...
Very well. Your coin is well spent. Remember, this is a pawn shop. I am always willing to take back my own goods in trade.
I'll remember. Thank you.
A nightingale perches on a high branch of the tree. She sings the most beautiful song Alexander has ever heard. The mechanical nightingale's hard tin body doesn't feel anything like a real bird's soft feathers. The path is well used. The path. There's no Alexander winds the mechanical nightingale and places it on the ground. The mechanical nightingale sings a sweet, tinny tune. The real nightingale in the tree cocks her head and listens intently. The nightingale flies to a lower branch and looks at Alexander curiously, as if she were deciding that this human might not be so bad.
Hello, little nightingale. Of what do you sing?
The nightingale only looks at Alexander curiously and continues to sing. Although the nightingale seems interested in Alexander, she would never allow him close enough to grab her. The mint. Alexander shows the object to the bird, hoping to interest her. It seems that the nightingale is no lover of the taste of peppermint. Alexander shows the object to the bird, hoping to interest her. The nightingale doesn't like the smell of that flower at all. Alexander shows the object to the bird, hoping to interest her. The little bird does not appear to be interested in that.
Next time. Still don't think I'll be able to do these sense to guys.
Alexander pulls out his magic map. Alexander feels a strain. The little oyster looks far too grumpy to enjoy a good tickling. Perhaps Alexander should find out more about the oyster first. Alexander hears someone coming.
Five fierce guards. Old Tom Troll, smell.
Alexander holds the flower of stench out to the gnome with the jumbo nose.
Tom Troll I am, that's all I'll be. My nose knows all on land and sea. A flower of stench has washed ashore. A flower 'tis all, and nothing more. Listen, hark you, broken oar, do your duty as you swore. With your ears, please tell us more.
Alexander winds the tin nightingale and plays it for the gnome with the monument.
A nose is not a way to spy.
My ears cannot be told a lie. A nightingale is all there be. No man is near, and so say me. Taste, Grump, that we might know whether friend or whether foe.
Alexander holds the mint out for the gnome with the gigantic mouth.
Grump knows a tasty treat. It matters not what others bleat. No danger is this one so sweet. Trilly dilly, use your hands. Is it beast or is it man?
Alexander holds the rabbit foot out for the gnome with the huge hands.
Be all you mad? What aileth thee? A bunny can't trill merrily. A hare does not at all taste sweet. A rabbit here is all we greet. Old Bill Batter, never fatter. Vision can resolve this matter. Look you now and end this chatter.
Alexander pours the contents of the empty-looking ink bottle over himself.
Or maybe not. Aha!
By all that's beauteous, fair, and sightly, 4 morons do I sleep with nightly. There's nothing there at all, I say. Enough of this. Let's now away.
Alexander did it! He's fooled the guards! Alexander picks up the object floating in the water. It appears to be a string of letters. They say, "Where are you going?" Alexander decides to keep the odd sentence, even though it is incomplete.
Wow. Hiya, gorgeous. Oh, what a luscious-looking hunk of flesh you are.
Thank you, I guess. Who are you?
How charming of you to pretend not to know. I'm Black Widow, of course. The femme fatale of all femme fatales. Know what I mean? You know, I was just thinking it was time I found my 50th, another husband. It would be quite a horror, an honor to have me as a bride. Just look at my beautiful weaving. It's so light, so delicate. You'll never want to leave my little nest.
Oh, yeah.
It is a lovely web, but my heart is elsewhere, I'm afraid.
Oh, drat! The loss is yours. I'm sure you'll change your mind once you consider the advantages.
Yes. That's why I want spider sense.
That scrap of paper blew into my web from those books over there. The wind just thinks it can deposit anything here.
Alexander reaches out to grab the scrap of parchment.
After my goods, are you? What a greedy little man you are.
Alexander feels the sharp prick of the Black Widow's teeth. Then, a strange burning sensation.
That's what you get for preferring that old scrap of paper to me.
Tickets. Oh.
Next.
Why do you think they call her a widow?
Call it quits. Thanks for watching.